Kia tīmata te hui, whakataka tahau ki te uru, whakataka tahau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hiake ana te atakura, he tiho, he huka, he hauhu, tihei Māori ora. Welcome to our meeting today, to the network meeting today. And unfortunately, Etu Mao can't be with us. He's had to go to Tonga for a funeral. So Susan is going to be our MC for today. But I'd really it's an exciting program that we've got today. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Susan. Kia ora.
Ora, thank you, Sophie. So, tēnā koutou I tipu aki au ki mura hiku, ko G te whānau, ko Susan toko ingoa, ko tēnei taku ngā mihi. Ngā tangata whenua o te rohi nei, ka nui te mihi ki a koutou, nō reira tēnā koutou katoa. So I'm Susan G, and I'm a researcher and educator, and I have roles with Te Whataora Waitaha Canterbury and with the New Zealand Dementia Foundation, the hat that I'm wearing today, and with the Burwood Academy Trust. And I'm delighted to be with you today, and I'd like to thank you all for making the time in your day. And I'm hoping that this might be a little bit of a highlight in your day, because I'm actually a great believer in the power of sharing good news, and that's really what today is all about. It's about hearing from passionate people talking about exciting things. But before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping things. So the first is that we would love you to ask questions today, but the way that we're going to do that is ask you to type them into the chat function. So there'll be some time set aside for questions, but you can also just ask them as they come to you when you're listening to our panelists today, and I'll be keeping an eye out and trying to ask those. I might not get to them immediately, but we'll try to work through your questions for today. The other thing is that we have quite a few panelists today. So to make things a bit simpler in terms of what you're looking at on the screen, I want everyone who isn't a panel member to please turn your video off now. So you'll see that there's a icon down the bottom that says stop video, and you just need to push that to turn your video off. And hopefully that will make it nice and simple for your screen, that you will just be looking at our panelists a bit like the Brady Bunch. Thank you very much for doing that. Well, we're going to get started by introducing our panel to you today. So what we have are a range of organisations who are working on some new projects that are moving us forward on our Dementia Mati Wareware action plan. So many of you are very familiar with the background to this, that there was some money set aside in budget 2022 for some projects in the Dementia Mati Wareware area, particularly for projects that were going to help us with ways of providing post-diagnostic support, navigation, and respite. So part of this initiative that's a really important part is that it was all about a stretch. And so really thinking about ways to reach out to some of the groups that have not had as many options. So rural areas, tangata whenua and Pacifica, and you're really going to get that feel, I think, as we go through the session this morning. So 7 projects are setting out over the next 4 years. And they do come from all around the country. And when I was preparing this little set of slides for the introduction, I did feel a bit like I might be the MC for one of those beauty pageants, you know, how you get the contestants from different areas. But our first contestant is from the ever-changing Waitaha, Canterbury. And Dementia Canterbury is partnering with the Purapura Whetū Trust, and they're going to be offering a navigation service and a service that provides access to diagnosis and a wide range of programs and support for local tangata whenua. And we have with us today Lee and Daryl. And would you like to introduce yourselves to the group, please? Kia ora, Lee, would you like to start?
Yes, kia ora tātou katoa. Ko Daryl Campbell, and I am the Chief Executive of Dementia Canterbury, and it's a pleasure to be here today.
Morena, everyone. My name is Lee Andrews. I work for Dementia Canterbury, and my main roles are that of dementia educator and clinical leader. And like Daryl, it's very exciting to be with you all today. Thank you.
Kia ora, Daryl and Lee. Now, also from the South Island, we have the Te Waipounamu collaboration. Now, this is actually 9 agencies working together, and apparently it will very soon actually be 12 agencies working together. And they're going to be offering a home share activity day program in 17 locations across Te Waipounamu, the South Island. And we have Jane Large with us today, who is the shepherd for this quite big flock of agencies.
Yeah, kia ora koutou, ko Jane Large, tōku ingoa. I'm the project manager working for the 9 agencies. It is a collaboration and they're all equal partners, and we're still in discussions with 3 other partners too. We're a passionate bunch. We thought that there's so much scope for respite, because there is practically none for people with dementia mata wareware. And so the group of organisations met once, discussed what they might be able to do, and now Susan forgot to tell everyone it had to be something new that's not been done before. And there's our challenge, everyone, to be able to do a new service. But we're all excited to do this. So thank you.
Kia ora, Jane. Now, up north now, we have Dementia Hawke's Bay and the Kahungunu executive from the banks of the Wairoa River. So would you like to, and they are going to be doing a Kaupapa Māori Active Day program. So we have Tracy and Diane. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Ata Maria, ko Tracy Lanigan tōku ingoa, and I'm the Chief Executive of Dementia Hawke's Bay. And I'm having the absolute pleasure of working with Diane and her team from Kahungunu Executive ki te Wairoa to set up. In fact, today is our first day of operations of supporting 10 kaumātua today with Mate Wareware in Wairoa.
Oh, congratulations!
Thanks.
Morena koutou. I'm Diane Jane, and I'm the TC of the health team at Kahungunu Executive in Wairoa. And yes, like Tracy said, big day today, our first day. So happy to provide the service to our Wairoa kaumātua. And like Jane, I think that's just spoken, we have absolutely no respite care services in Wairoa currently. So this is a huge opportunity to offer some whānau we'd like it to be all whānau, but at the moment we'll start off with the group that we have, and hopefully it becomes a great service and our whānau, you know, take advantage of it. And yeah, so looking forward to the future and a service that we can provide.
Fantastic. Kia ora, Tracy and Diane. So we also have with us from Te Puna Ora o Matatua, and they're going to be offering a really, you know, kind of comprehensive wraparound service that's going to be supporting access to services and empowering whānau and their loved ones, particularly focusing in on people who have the early stages of dementia in a range of places across Te Moana Atui, the Bay of Plenty and the East Coast. And we have Penny with us today.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Penny Hillman tōku ingoa, he uri ahau no nai tūhoi me Ngāti Puke ko hoki. Kia ora, my name is Penny Hillman, and my role with Te Puna Ora o Matatua, who's based in Whakatane, is the Director for Home and Community Supports.
Kia ora, thanks Penny. And last but by no means least, from the teeming metropolis of Auckland, we have the Aotearoa Tongan Health Workers Association, and they are going to be offering a service, a Pacific dementia or mangalo service that's going to be really family focused with post-diagnostic support, navigation services, and also a real awareness raising component. And we have with us Maka.
Yeah, morena, malo rele, everyone. Warm Pacific greetings here from Auckland. Very sunny day up here. My name's, as mentioned, Maka Pailate. I'm actually the Chief Executive for the Tonga Health Workers Association up here in Auckland. We trade under the name Aki Heuho. Yeah, and we have launched our pilot on the 18th of September. Right now, a big focus on the comms aspect of the service, developing our communication strategy and rolling it out at the same time to all the Pacific ethnicities. We are pretty much almost done with the Tongan community. As you see, that it is us, the Tongans, that is leading this to the rest of the Pacific community in Auckland. We're hoping to rolling it out to the rest of the other ethnicities pre-Christmas and through the new year as well. Yeah, kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you, Maka. And just to say that there is a 7th group, Te Hau Ora o Ngāpuhi, up in Rota. Oh, no, sorry, I've got one more to do. Te Hau Ora o Ngāpuhi. I'm so sorry. Who will be offering, again, a really comprehensive service. Tia and Marina, I'm so sorry, I just about was going to move past you. So they will be, again, stretching across quite a wide area of the Te Whare Tapo o Ngāpuhi iwi boundaries to offer this service that's going to be helping to boost access to a whole range of things, including whānau education, diagnosis, health and activities. And Tia and Rena, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Kia ora everyone, I'm Rena and I'm kaiarahi for Mate Wareware Services, and our project focuses on improving access to culturally safe post-diagnostic supports and community assistance, and empowering whānau to live in the community aligned with their needs and preferences. So our key objectives is to reduce the complexity of the navigating the system.
Such an important thing, eh? Now, what I was trying to say a little early was that our 7th group, Manaki Ora from Rotorua aren't able to join us today. So, what we've got today is an opportunity to hear more about these really exciting projects, and also to hear a bit about, you know, the thoughts and experiences of what's being learnt along the way from our panel. So Diane and Tracy, I'm going to toss the question to you to start with. So your team up in the Hawke's Bay are planning your Kaupapa Māori Active Day, Active Brain Day program, which I'm loving the sound of. And you're doing that in Wairoa, and we've already heard you say a little bit about, you know, how needed this is. And I'm wondering if you could just start off by telling me and the rest of us just a little bit about Wairoa, because it's a pretty special little place, isn't it?
It sure is, and I'm going to hand that to Di. I said to Di, because what we've started with really is the whole partnership is around Dementia Hawke's Bay has expertise within dementia, and Kahununu Executive has expertise about and for Wairoa and the people of Wairoa. So I'm going to hand that question to Di. I'm looking around the screen for her, but I can't find her. Oh, there you are, Di. Cool.
Morena. Yes, so currently in Wareware. So Wareware is situated between Gisborne and Napier, for those of you who don't know. And we did, up until Cyclone Gabrielle, have a retirement home, but since Gabrielle, that has now closed and is not reopening. So that was the only respite our whānau in Wairoa had. So now, really, if you want respite, you are looking at taking your whānau member to a facility out of town, which is currently, number one, it's the only option for whānau. And we are seeing quite a lot of that, but like you would all come across, whānau really want to keep their whānau at home as long as they can. So starting a respite service for some whānau that will choose to use it will be a good thing. Of course, we know here, like me and our girls here, we know we're only touching the surface with without even looking, if you like, from our own client base and from some whānau members who have rung and asked if we know what's available. But I mean, we could potentially, with the resources and funding, you know, this could be a big thing for Wairoa. And I'm only speaking on rumour here. Rumour has it that we won't have another aged care facility reopen in town. So it's only going to be huge. It's only going to grow. And the need is only going to get more, you know, bigger than what we can probably handle.
Wow, so needed. So would you like to talk us through the approach that you're taking with what you're going to be offering starting today?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, Tracy, you're going to...
Oh, no, you go, Di. You're sitting up there today. I know my team members travelled up and got there super early, which I was very impressed with, and working with one of your team members, I think, to get the day going. So
today is the first day of our collaboration day with Tracy and her team, if you like, with 10 clients. It might be not with 10 clients. So, you know, potentially, number one, you want to give our dementia Mati Wareware whānau members an opportunity to socialise with other people, you know, do some active brain stuff with them. And this is all new to, number one, our culture. So it's a learning curve for us from our team. that'll probably be just standing in the midst and at this stage and seeing what's going on, because Tracy's team will lead the day. Yeah, so it'll be all new, but we're looking forward to it. And of course, we'll continue to, because I mean, our district, 99% of our clients are Māori, even though our service does provide, we are a Māori charitable trust, but we do, in Wairoa, we do offer services to all denominations. So our client base is not only Māori, but we do try, and because there is a lot more Māori with Dementia Wareware now, or their whānau are putting their hands up and saying, hey, I think that's what's wrong with my nan or my koro or auntie and uncle. So, yeah, it just takes a little bit of them coming to terms with that. And so education is going to be a big part. And Tracy's team have already come up a couple of times to educate both, or try and educate our team that are supporting our kaumātua in the community anyway, and just having some resourcing and learning for our whānau that are also living with their elderly suffering. Yeah.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking that one of the things that you're going to be trying out across the day program is the Māori version of cognitive stimulation therapy?
Yeah, like they love waiata. And it's quite touching, like for some of our older Māori people who have resorted back to te reo in their now dementia wareware conditions. It's come back to them to be their first language again, which is what probably was their first language as children. So they love waiata. They love talking about what they did when they were children, which was, you know, doing the gardens and how they lived their lives. So, yes, so they have, but then most groups do, but they have karakia, they have, you know, shared kai, and just the language, really.
Yeah, and definitely with the Māori CST, we do need some training around all that. I mean, Dementia Hawke's Bay doesn't run that either, so I think that's a valuable addition we can add to the folks in Wairoa. Yeah.
And Penny, can I just throw you in here, because is it Penny or is it Rena? One of you I know has actually just done the training with Macarena.
Yeah, it's
is it Rena?
We've done the training. Yeah.
Sorry, Penny, for the heart attack.
Yeah, we 8 of us did the training. So we had I think 6 from Te Hauoro Ngāpuhi, and we got Alzheimer's Northland in there as well. Just a bit of collaboration. So yeah, it was well worth it. Very, very interesting. And yeah, you're so right that so many people convert back to their first language. So
yeah. So for people that are listening in that might not know about that resource, would you like to just tell them a little bit about what this new resource that Macarena and her team have got off the ground is all about?
So cognitive stimulation therapy, this has been adapted by Macarena Dudley from a Te Ao Māori lens. So there's a lot of waiata in there, and karakia, and just acknowledgement of Te Ao Māori. A lot of the resources, pictures and stuff like that is all Te Ao Māori as well.
Oh, cool. And Daryl, am I right in thinking that this might be on your agenda as well?
Kia ora, yes. So Dementia Canterbury has a group that's been running for most of this year called Te Raupo Manaaki, which is a group that brings together our Māori clients who are interested and has a focus on cognitive stimulation. It's co-led by our kaumātua, and always starts with a waiata, involves lots of storytelling and has a strong cognitive stimulation component. So as part of this project, we're hoping to develop that further and use the new navigators to be involved in running that program into the future and running it more frequently with more people coming on board.
Yeah, no, it's lovely, and I think it's one of the things across all the different groups. I'm putting this out to everyone. I think when I've been listening across time, there's this real sense of trying to provide a sense of home, like of somewhere where people are going to settle in and feel like they belong. And I think all of the groups have been putting a lot of thought into that. And, you know, when you're talking about, you know, using the waiata, and there's lots of different ways in terms of where you're locating yourself and the things that you're doing and the approach that you're taking, which is all about, you know, connecting in to feel like you belong. And I think, would you, some of you like to just talk us through about some of the thinking that you've been putting in? Because there's been a lot of effort going on behind the scenes into that, I think.
I'll kick it off. I think for us, if I could just take us back, so when we first started Dementia Hawke's Bay and going back up to Wareware again, because Wareware is actually part of Hawke's Bay, and it was nearly 3 years ago, and I met with a self-led carers group up there, and I said, basically, this was my question to them: how can we be useful to the whānau and the people of Wareware? And they said they want just one day where there is a day program where they can get a break and come in, like even from traveling from Waikato Moana, and come in and do the groceries, have a haircut, have a coffee, catch up with people. If they could just have one day, that would make a huge difference and we would be of value. So that meeting right to this point now has always been in my mind, and that's the work that my team have been trying to do in between cyclones and COVID. And so that's what we've been working on. And so I think the main thing for us has been focusing on the relationship with the people of Wairoa and Kahungunu Executive, and how can Dementia Hawke's Bay be useful? And the only way that I thought we could be useful is to say, well, we've got the dementia expertise, you've got the Wairoa family whānau expertise. How do we bring this together and be of value to the whole of Wairoa? So really it was around lots of talking, lots of relationships, and building that relationship and that trust to say, yes, we're not going to be taking over or ditching you or any of that kind of stuff. It's, you know, it's just basic stuff. And me and Di, we're constantly talking. And what we've said is we're just going to, like, today's the first day we're going to kick off our actual program, but we've been up there every week for the last few months, building it up. And Di and her team have come down to Hawke's Bay. So I think just setting that foundation, we're now so comfortable that Di and I can just pick the phone up and say, hey, we don't think this is quite going to work. Even looking at where we were putting the program, it's based in a home where Di and her team also run Te Rangi Atua, which is healthy programs for their kaumātua. So I think it's just that literally, let's try it, let's talk to each other, let's be honest with each other and say, oh, that's not going to quite work, and try something different. So that's what we're just going to keep those doors open. So I think that's been the biggest thing, is just building this trusting relationship over the years, I have to say. Yeah. Jump in, Di, if you...
Yeah, no, that sounds like the plan, Tracy, and I have to agree. Trusting one another is a biggie. I'm new to Kahungunu Executive. I only started this year, but Tracy and I have discussed that previous relationships haven't really had a lot of that. So it's gaining that trust in one another and knowing that, you know, we're all rowing that same waka for the same ultimate goal, and bringing the two organisations together for the betterment of our whānau and our staff. resourcing for us, for staff, is huge, because everybody's stealing from Peter to, you know, pay Paul kind of thing. So, but it's finding the right people too. You want the right people, and so, and that's where Tracy is going to have to help us out with her team. So yeah, so, but ultimately, let's see how it goes. And no doubt the program will need some tweaking here and there, and there's always room for improvement, I guess.
Well, I'm going to toss out to Jane now, because when we're talking about, you would have been pricking up your ears about that thing about it, the group in Wairoa being located in a home, because that's very close to the heart of the project that the collaborative that you're with has been working on, isn't it?
It's very close, excuse me. So our model is small homes, and that you talked about that home-like environment, and we all know, really, all of us like home most. And I think that our people with dementia Matawari need to feel comfortable and secure and safe. And so our model is in a home or a community venue that's home-like. And it's a small group. So different to Wairoa, where they're able to take 10 or more perhaps. Our model is 4 clients to 1 host with a volunteer. It is for a full day. We're spread throughout a large geography from Marlborough at the top of our island, and it's the rural areas, everyone. So just to add that extra challenge, sometimes it's easier to get services that are new like this off the ground in urban areas, but we're working. So we've got 14 rural locations across the South Island, and then 3 groups for our Māori with our marae-based teams, and 1 group for young onset in Christchurch. And this is all new. It's all new. We've never done it before. I don't know, you know, Tracy, you were talking about trust and building relationships, and then the safety. And for us, a lot of our work, because so our aim, we've got the 9 organisations, our aim is to work like one. And we talk about being broadly similar across that geography. So, and I'm sure you've done this, and we haven't discussed it today, and perhaps it's coming up, Susan, but we've spent a lot of time looking at, because Diane, you talked about choosing the right people. So we've done the job description, position descriptions, and for coordinators. So every home has a coordinator overseeing, with a host and a volunteer. So we've got the job descriptions done for each of those, or the sort of description of what is it that will help be valuable, really. We've got our education program sorted, specific Dementia Matawari education, and we've got 7 components. So all of our collaboration includes our Alzheimer dementia teams. So they're leading what do we need to know about managing, keeping a calm environment, and looking for triggers, and being able to keep things so that we can all enjoy the day. So we've worked on education, things like entry. I call it service harmony, but we mean entry-exit criteria. So who might, and we need this for our nests, because they ask us, well, tell us about this service and who might want it. So environmental assessment, because they are small homes throughout the island, 17 different places. So we need to get what we've come to realise, and perhaps Tracy and you can comment, but every home in New Zealand has got risk. Every home. and we all live with risk every day. Our job is to just go, what's excessive? What do we need to mitigate? Care plan, and then like a discussion document for our potential partners. So we've been doing all of those things, and we've got a couple of our homes ready to go this month. So
yeah. So can you
sorry, I was just going to say, I'll just clarify. So even though it's in a house, it's not actually it's in a house that's being used for service provision as opposed to people living in the houses, if that helps.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Sorry to confuse. Yeah.
It's like a facility that's a home, but nobody lives there, right? Yeah. Ours is different to yours in that way, but it's good to have difference.
Yeah. So, Jane, is the idea that sort of every day will be different rather than it being a sort of structured program, that it'll be very responsive to the people who are there? Or...
Our Alzheimer's teams have got lots of ideas about activities, but the program isn't put together until we know the clients, because it's all around them. And for instance, we're working with a Marai-based team, and they're talking about Ealing is something that would be something on their program. So because their clients want to do that, and so it's hard. We've got a whole range of activities and resources that are available, but we haven't put the program together until we meet the people and they tell us what they want. So, and just like we've talked about, being person-centered is actually also responding to their needs and being stimulating. It's like build it all in through everything that we do, that cognitive stimulation, meeting each other, chatting, talking, singing, all of those stimulate up here. We've talked about brain health in terms of our meals and the food that we offer, and so we're building that into our program, because and I'm sure you do, Tracy and I, our program includes a hot main meal and dessert as well as morning tea. So we want to be considering the healthy food options. So we've done a lot of preparing and planning, and we're ready for the implementation, really.
Wow, it's actually really interesting hearing that kind of backdrop, because there's such a lot of ththings woven in when you choose to go into that kind of more familiar home setting. There's a lot of layers of complexity, isn't there? Yeah.
Complexity. And I would like to endorse what Tracy and Diane have said. We can't underestimate that relationship building and the collaboration, and it's not as in we don't trust each other, but understanding the strengths of each other to be able to rely on. That is key to this. And we're still in some areas building, like we never worked. You had 3 years ago a discussion. We never worked together before March when the expression of interest was released, and we went, hey, this is an opportunity. Should we look at doing something together? And so we're really building that relationship and understanding each other's strengths. And yes, we hit barriers. Like we've had homes with a host all lined up, and then the person who was going to be the host has fallen over and broken the hip. So that means our venue's gone and our host is gone, and we have to start again looking for somebody in that rural location. But yeah,
you've just got a tick of OT approval from Okida, who says, I love how you say we will wait to meet the clients to develop what the activities program will look like. Oh, sorry, recreational therapist. My apologies. Recreational therapist to give approval.
Thank you. This is what we need, affirmation from each other. I mean, our NASC have been wonderful, and they are part of our team, really. And in the South Island, I think there's about 14 different contacts for the NASC group, and they're part of working together with us. So we do need this affirmation. Thank you, Tracy, for that. Because like Di says, we're learning and might need to change some things.
Now, we have a memory quiz for you here, Jane, from Catherine Hall. She says it's great to hear where these pilots are up to. And could you let us know who the 9 partners are?
That's a very good question. Thank you. So we've got 5, we call them our ALSDEM team. So it's Alzheimer's, Marlborough, Nelson Tasman, South Canterbury, and Otago. And then our Dementia Canterbury team. So that's our ALSDEMS team, those 5 different organisations spread across the island. And then 4 home care teams, which 3 are Presbyterian, different divisions of Presbyterian support. So Presbyterian support Otago, South Canterbury, and Upper South Island. And who have got a little bit of connection, but they've all got their own work to do. So they haven't really worked with each other. I'd have to say all of our organisations are collaborative, and the other home care, home and community care is Access Otago. And then we've got 3 Marae-based teams that we're in discussion with and keen to develop our relationships sufficiently to be able to progress to a
Can I just make a comment there, Jane, because Dementia Canterbury is one of the partners as well. And
I did say that.
And I'd just like to say that, just take up your point around partnership, because I think many of these projects involve significant partnership, and it's taken a lot of time and a lot of resource in this early part of the development to establish those partnerships and to work out how we work together and how we agree what we all can do and what only some of us can do, and how we do it. And I think that that's the strength of the projects, of course, but there's a lot of work involved. A lot of mahi has gone on already and will continue. And certainly in that project in particular, getting all of those people to regular meetings and having that regular korero around the table, it's considerable effort. And one of the learnings around the projects is part of the time it takes to manage the projects. And it's something that we underestimated, I'd have to say, and it's a real learning for us about you don't start on day one with it all good to go. You spend this time really getting to know your partners and working out how you're going to work together and that it's developmental. So you have to be listening to the clients about what they want throughout the journey, and it may well change to meet those expectations. I'd be interested in hearing from others around that.
Thank you, Daryl. Endorse what you say.
And I think, Penny, do I see you nodding there too?
Yeah, I think I'm just in agreement with that, Daryl, in regards to getting whānau voice, getting whānau input into how we develop our services and getting them involved earlier in the piece. So it is something that we haven't quite hit the mark yet, but we're gathering whānau in, as well as whānau that have actually already experienced whānau that have gone through Mate Wareware, and using that as a platform for us to look at what could be done differently. But then it may not be different, it may be the same, but building on top of that as well. So having that whānau voice in there is really important for us as well. And so looking at that co-design for the development of what we do.
Yeah, fantastic. And Marka, I know that your group, you know, you're expanding out your kind of who you're working with in quite a big way, from being quite a Tongan focused to, you know, a really, really broad kind of parish, aren't you?
Yes, definitely. And I can relate to the last speaker, building those partnerships with all these other providers, which is a big part of what we've started to do right now. As I mentioned in our earlier meetings about how diverse the Pacific community up here in Auckland. In terms of language, there are so many languages, but we managed to nail it down to about 11 languages, which is just, you look at it, the Samoan are the dominant Pacific ethnicity up here in Auckland. The Tongans are second to it. And then we have the Cook Island Maoris, which is the third largest one. And then all the other ethnicities, the Fijian, the Niuean, the Vanuatus, the Tokelauans, all these other small ones. But then we have, even though they're all Pacific, we subdivide them to 3 different ones, like Polynesian, the Micronesian, and the Melanesians. Melanesians are easy because they have managed to speak a certain language, which is called One Talk. So if you're Solomon Islands, or if you are Vanuatuans, or if you are Tokelauans, you can all speak in the same one language, which is, they call it One Talk. It was actually developed during the Second World War when the Japanese were there in the Pacific. So it's easy to go into that particular group and start a conversation, let's say, for example, in the Solomon community, and speak in that language. But that is a big part of what we're trying to do at the moment is the translation. Luckily, on our website, when we developed the website, Google has managed to do the translation for us into Maori and Samoan. They haven't done the rest of the ethnicities. So if we go into our website and let's say you want to read it in Maori, you can read the website in Maori, or if you want to read it in Samoan, you can read it there. We still are talking to our translators at the moment to translate all the other Pacific ethnicities, so they can understand all this information that we have built up which is a big part of the thing, is to develop the resources for all the Pacific ethnicities. As we are all aware that the majority of the elderly people are 65 plus, prefer to converse in their own language. Over the last 3 months, our comm team has been very, very busy with the translation, building up small clips that we can, and finding out the platform where we can raise the awareness for all these other ethnicities. Luckily, it's easy for us to do the Tongans because we've been working with them for so long. But navigating into the other Pacific ethnicities is a challenge, but we love it because it allows us to expand our service into the other ethnicities. And luckily, I'm part of the Northern Region Pacific Providers, where we have a fortnightly hui with the Northern Region Director of the Te Whatuara. I get to introduce to the rest of them there, and that's another part of how I get into the network and building up those partnerships with all the other providers. It's scheduling. You want to meet everybody. You want to meet 5 providers in a week because you want to get it over and done with. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. So you got to find a way to get to the rest of them, and probably the rest of the year. That's what we're doing out for the rest of the year. But in saying that, in our radio program in the Tongans, because we run that now regularly every week in the Tongan language, we're starting to see referrals come through our website. Referrals come through the phone lines. In our navigator, we have 2 navigators now working full time on it, and they starting to collect the information, finding out whether they've had gone through and done a diagnosis or not. All those little bits and pieces into our database, and hopefully Christmas is just around the corner, but we're going to be very busy right through Christmas and the New Year, trying to get our doctors to start looking at all this information that we have right now.
Yeah,
but it's.
I think a couple of things that you say there about loving a challenge and being very busy. It's like, wow, that kind of sums up this panel. Like, whoa. Now, Daryl, I'm going to bring you in because I think lots of the things that have been coming up, you and Lee, this is your home territory here when you're talking about things like, this idea of respite and the opportunities that offers for the people who are involved in these kind of day programs. And would you, I know that's only a part of what you're going to be doing, but would you like to kind of talk us through a bit about your approach and what you're hoping to achieve? And in your new work? Yeah.
Our collaboration is with Pura Whitu, and it comes from a place where we had started to try and develop some services for Māori, and have had a kaumātua as part of our service for a number of years. But when we stepped back and we had a hui and we talked to our clients and we asked people what they wanted, some of the feedback was around kaupapa Māori service development, but some of it was also around particularly getting a diagnosis, the process, the real challenge for a lot of people in getting a diagnosis and getting access to support services. And so much of this project is also around the navigators as part of the project, identifying people through the network of Pura Whitu or Dementia Canterbury who may have matawareware and need some help and support to actually get a diagnosis and to get access to service, because there's lots of people that we're not seeing and we would like to see, but they haven't been identified. And so a big part of this is a push to find those people. Just talking already with Pura Whitu as we evolve how we're going to work together, and they have an existing kaumātua group where they think that a reasonable number of the men in that group may have matawareware, and amongst the group of people that they identify as maybe having some cognitive decline, at least half of those people don't actually have a GP. So, you know, it's some really basic stuff that needs to happen to enable people to access what others of us might take for granted, and that is a GP and getting a diagnosis. And then what comes from that. Many of the Māori that we've traditionally been seeing are well down the track in their matawareware journey, and we'd really hope that one of the successes of this project might be that we get to people a lot earlier and support them through a rounded kaupapa Māori service from the point of diagnosis all the way through.
Fantastic. I'm just going to say that, you know, when we're talking about the challenges, that we've got a couple of messages coming in from chat about, you know, the hopes that you'll be connecting in with the network, and I know that Okita is also saying on behalf of if there's any advice or consultation that you'd like around the diversional and recreational therapy. She's the president of the diversional therapists and would be, you know, delighted to support the panel in any way. And I'm sure there's lots of other people cheering for you and you know, really wanting to connect in. And I'm just going to say now that we're hoping that this will not be the first time that you come and talk with us, that we'll be alongside you with the journey over the next few years with the Dementia Network. So thank you for that. And I think that some of the things that you've been talking about, Rena, those kind of messages about that need for people to get connected in to health support and the huge potential there. I could see you nodding when you were listening to Daryl there, because that's you know, part of what drives you, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean the inequities. Probably half of the people up here don't have a GP, so there are a number of virtual doctor services, and it's just so difficult to get some of these rural areas people into town. So it can be an hour and a half to 2 hours one way. I mean, for example, that would be Te Hapua would take an hour and a half to 2 hours to get into town. So when you look at the cost of the petrol and all the other bits and pieces that go with it, so they don't want a diagnosis because it's a stigma associated with the diagnosis. So, you know, the stigma that leads to the decreased quality of life and the social isolation, the spousal hiding, the care partner burnout, it's just, it's, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and I get what you're saying about, not everyone having a GP, that we tend to forget about that. So it's really important that we address all those issues, the stigma, and I think the education as well, because they're on the 12 modifiable risk factors. So I think it's time that there was a really big push of promotion, nationwide promotion on the risk factors and the stigma associated with it, with dementia wareware.
And I think that Penny, I'm just bouncing around here, but one of the things that was in my head with Te Poom just was that you already have an existing resource available, don't you, with some videos from a kaupapa Māori perspective talking through dementia, and those are freely available, aren't they? I'm just, in terms of that information sharing, it's so cool.
Yes, they are, and they're currently on our website at the moment, and we're just in the process. I think one of the biggest things that we've been focusing on over the last few weeks is developing more comms to be available for whānau. And so we're ready to press go, but I after this we need to go and have a look at them first before we put some more up on our website. But that is a big thing, and I think the other part that we do have, and lack of access to, or not so much lack of access, but to GP. We have a medical bus that actually is able to travel into the rural areas, and so people don't need to be signed up to our GP practice to actually access this. So it's one of the advantages that we would use to actually get people seen earlier as well. Although we're still working on the logistics on how we could. And this is a big want, really, to put a gerontologist or somebody on that bus to be able to go into those areas to actually do some early diagnosis stuff. So again, that's a want more than a reality at this stage, but it's definitely something we want to look at.
Yeah, so there's this kind of common thread about this awareness of getting out and just maybe changing the way that the conversation is about some of the changes that people might be noticing, about the fact, maybe some good things can happen if you do get in to get a diagnosis.
And I think one of the other things that we currently have which is why we're using our home and community support service, is that throughout the Bay of Plenty, we've got up 480 support workers. So, if we can provide the education to them to identify, look at symptoms, and, early onset is something huge that we want to capture. And if we could utilise our current staffing that are across the Bay of Plenty, and a lot of them are in the rural areas, a lot of them are whānau carers. So if we can teach them and provide them the training and the education for them, not just for them as our employees, but their whānau. So we want to bring that whole wider whānau connection in, to bring the education in for more people to be aware. And it is breaking that stigma, like everybody's talked about. It's huge. We're trying to get a co-design group together in whānau going, don't want to be associated with that dementia. But when we reframe it and talk about mate wareware, I just find that Māori kupu have a softer approach. And, when we use mate wareware, people start to sit and listen a little bit more when we talk about, trying to keep our whānau home and trying to remove that stigma, and how we can do it, and utilising them to input into that on how we do it. People are starting to listen to that a little bit better. And the education for us is, like I said, it's not just our employees, it's not just their immediate whānau, but even like taking it to the marae, taking it into the schools, teaching our mokopuna, teaching our children about it, so that it doesn't place that stigma upon our whānau.
Fantastic. I just love you. You're big thinkers, aren't you all? You just you're going to be out there changing the world. Now, Penny, we've got a couple of people who are really keen to find out about how to access your resources that you have. Would you like to just let people know where they can find those video education?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll drop the link to our website into the chat, and then people can access
Brilliant.
it.
Thank you so much. So, Rita, would you like to just Rena, would you like to just talk us through what your vision is for what you might be offering in your plans for the next few years?
So at the moment we've been collaborating with Frank and Judy Solomon, who are the co-founders or the founders of Manawatia Pakeke. So loosely translated, that means celebrating elderly. And that's a group where both Pakeke and carers attend the same group. So in the rural areas or in the remote areas, it eliminates the need for a lot of driving for both people to get to the same place. So, and in that we're doing a lot of cognitive stimulation as well. So the carer goes to one corner and the Pakeke go to another corner, and there's lots of waiata and lots of cognitive stimulation, and we're setting those up. So again, that's been we're asking the community what it is that they want. So our first one will be in Kaikoe, where Te Hauorangapui is based, and then we'll sort of branch out to Kaitaia, Dargaville, Whangarei, and that's taken a lot. But Frank and Judy have been really helpful. So their program has been supported by Alzheimer's Northland. And yeah, we've asked the community what they want, and we're just waiting. So we'll probably start that after Christmas now.
I'm loving, you know, that way that you're all connecting in with the community, with the people, and responding to what people want, rather than coming in with your blinkers on about this is what we'll be doing. I hope you like it.
Yeah. Well, we need the community involvement. They need to tell us what it is that they want, not the other way around.
And in terms of, you know, the kind of the things that you're hoping to provide with support across the journey, you've got quite a health focus about really wanting to see about how you can be with people to really look at holistic health, haven't you?
Well, yeah, because I think it's so much of it, we could reduce the incidences of mate wareware if we took better care of ourselves. And there's just so many modifiable risk factors. I mean, there's 12 modifiable risk factors, and I think the untreated hearing loss is just, wow. You know, I had no idea. I mean, and on my journey with my mum, she suffered hearing loss and she just never worried about it. And nobody worried about it because we just didn't. And it's like, wow, okay, that was completely preventable.
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be a huge awareness on the modifiable risk factors.
Yeah.
And I think we've had all these promotions on community programs on every type of cancer you can think of, on diabetes, on cervical cancer, but I've never seen any support towards mate wareware.
It's such a fantastic point, and it's in there in the Dementia Mati Wari Wari action plan. You know, it's one of the pillars, and there's such a lot of potential, isn't there? Yeah. And it sounds like, you know, well, Penny's going to be getting them while they're still in the schools, you know.
Yeah, great
So
idea.
starting early.
Totally. I mean, kids have also got a way of I mean, our queer kaumātua listen to our kids as well. You know, if Moko says something, you know, they'll go, oh yeah, you know.
Yeah. And am I right in thinking that you've had a soft launch already, that you've been out?
Yeah,
we
had a soft launch a couple of weeks ago, and that went quite well. We didn't get a lot of referrals, but we had a lot of we did a lot of networking. So we've had all up about 10 referrals now. And I think for us, we're getting referrals for people that are whānau referrals that they haven't been diagnosed. Why haven't they been diagnosed? Because they don't have a doctor. So we're trying to
you're making connections.
Yeah.
That are people who were just really unknown to any of the services. That is such a big thing.
Yeah. No, so and when I think also the fact that there's not a lot of data on Māori and Mati Wareware needs to be addressed as well. I mean, we need to know where we stand so that we can address the needs of our people.
So, Penny, I think, you know, this will be like, I don't know, looking in a mirror, really, isn't it? This is just so much of the same things that you're aiming for as well with Te Pūm, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think probably like Rena, we see in quite a few of the rural schools here now, I actually see quite a lot of the kaumātua coming into school to support in some of the classes now, just to, they're getting kaumātua involved. So, we just saw that could be a space that we could actually bring that education into as well. Because, they're coming into support, tamariki coming into support mokopuna, let's do it the other way around as well.
Yeah. So, Penny, would you like to talk us through what your team have got in your vision, which is also just huge?
Yeah, look, because of the wider services that we have, so we are a kaupapa Māori-based service in Whakatane that cover the whole Bay of Plenty, but we've got a lot of other services, like many others, that we want to be able to look at wrapping around whānau. One of the things what we're always looking for is what is the need as a community, and then developing what we can. So one of the things that we have seen is around transport specialist appointments, transport just to get to the GP. And so when we were looking at a lot of the rural areas, we've actually got what we call a wakamanaki van that people can actually book, that can go and pick up whānau. So, if this can be used for whānau to even just get a respite half day for some of our kaimahi to go and pick up whānau to take them to their appointments, it almost gives that half a day out for whānau to not have to worry about them getting to any appointments, So those are just small steps that we've done because we're utilising the existing services that we've got. One of the other focuses that I've mentioned is the education. It's looking at how, so we've got an RN and 2 navigators at the moment, but we've also got a wider team of 9 coordinators that support our 480 support workers. So we're also educating them in this so that as they're going out into the homes, but us, the more eyes in the homes and the more ears, can actually pick it up, where we're hoping that that might be one pathway that we can actually start picking this up a little bit earlier rather than later, because our home and community supports can go in for somebody that's actually low level needs that might be just at the beginning stages of their how do I say, of their journey of starting to receive supports. And if we can start to capture it at those early stages, then we can start on a winning foot with that. But again, like everybody else, as we go through it, we will see how this develops, and obviously if that part there doesn't work, let's try this other way. But that's why I'm loving these forums, because we can hear what might not be working and what might be working in different areas, and listening to that and adapting that as well.
Yeah. And I know that, as part of that navigation, that you've got that focus on raising awareness of the actual services that are available that nobody knows about. So that's something that you're also kind of going to be listening and seeing about. How you can raise that awareness, isn't it?
Yeah, and I keep talking about rural areas. There's a lot more services already in the urban areas that we know that people can access, but people that are living in the rural areas, and I heard somebody say, you have to travel sometimes an hour and a half just to get out to the doctors. We have the same thing here in the Bay of Plenty. Just giving an example of a client that we have has to travel an hour and a half one way. In one appointment that she came out to, they got a phone call to cancel the appointment because it no longer could be held. So it's dealing with that. They didn't have a vehicle. They didn't have enough gas to actually turn around and refill the car up. It's trying to limit some of those barriers, while still trying to build an additional service for that is one of the things that we're looking at. So, if that means that we incorporate the marae, if that means we incorporate kura, then those are some of the areas we want to look into.
Fantastic. And Maka, with your project, again, such broad aims, but that idea of awareness raising is part of what's driving your team as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. When we look at designing the service, it was actually we did ask Dr. Edwini to come in to advise on that part of the thing, and that's exactly what came up on that one, is that through the awareness, people will learn, it will get rid of the stigma that goes with it, through understanding, of course, through the awareness program. And then eventually they will come through the door, they'll pick up the phone and ring and refer whoever their whānau at home that is starting to develop the symptoms. And we see that coming through now slowly, but it's early stage, and to realize we are also now having other programs for the elderlies in the community. They just come in for a day, twice a week. They come in. We're lucky we have a little community hall, and they come in there and they're given about an hour after their lunchtime, just talk about anything, just the feedback and fortunately some of them talk about memory loss, or getting lost when they're driving to the dairy to finally realize they're ending up somewhere. So and through that process we give up this other information, and some of them have never heard that we are actually running a pilot, to identify all these symptoms that they are going through. So we kind of put them aside, those particular parts of the whānau, and see if we can refer them back to their GP or our clinician. We're lucky we have 3 clinicians in our team that works at other major mainstream hospital, but we book appointments for them to come in when we do have people that are directly referred to our service, to go through the diagnosis process, the assessment, and then from there, if they have to be, to go all the way, But that's what it is that we are looking at, and we are, it's all fairly new, and we're learning along the way as we do it.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that I think, is really different maybe than some of our more traditional is that this isn't a complicated referral process to get into these things, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Because we're meant to be doing it whānau focus in put in all the cultural aspects, and it has to be delivered in a particular way the Tongans will accept it, or the Samoan will accept it. So that's all part of the developing all this partnership is to sit down with each one of them. What's the best way to come into a home and introduce ourselves, not to offend whoever it is that have the symptom in their homes, because that's part of the thing. I'll just give you a clear example. We went out. There was an uncle. This is a family to me, and I got the phone call, so we went down there. And my cousin said to me, "Oh well, uncle's in the bedroom, and he's actually gone through the process, but he's going through a certain states of rejection. He doesn't accept that he's got the symptoms, so he gets very angry when he get referred to service like, even though I'm family, I'm not supposed to come in there and talk about what's his symptoms and everything like that. He preferred to be left alone, and even because when he went through the diagnosis, it was the mainstream that referred to him. Even the people that got sent to help him, he doesn't accept them. He kicked them out of the house and all those things. So these are some of the difficulties that we are going through right now, as to what kind of approach that we approach a certain particular person, i.e., for example, my uncle, because it will be tailored person as per the requirement for that particular person. We can't use the same one for everybody else. And as I'm sure everybody's aware of that, and they've come through the same challenge, that everyone is different. The way that we have to go and approach them is totally different. And we have to find ways to get through, and eventually we do. But luckily, it's the next 4 years are going to be very exciting for us, apparently. And yeah, it's where we are.
I think that's such a lovely kind of sum up, isn't it? That all of you are going to be responding to what you find out the needs are, and all of you are going to be having a very exciting 4 years. So I'm just going to open up to the group to see if there are any questions that people would like to ask individual people in the panel or the panel as a whole. You want to type in any questions? Well, we'll see if there are some people. I have just a little question for you, Rena, because it caught my eye that you folks are looking at a digital wallet for services. Is that right?
Yeah, like a digital directory.
Right.
So we're working on putting that together still.
And so that will be what people can find in their local area.
That's right. Yeah. So we've got a general overview of Taitokerau, but we need to put that down into the main feeder towns within the rohe.
Yeah. It's so cool because it's one of the things that has come up through the conversations with the Dementia Māori Wareware network, is just that thing of how do we make it easy for people to find things. And so I'm really interested, that you've also been doing a really practical local kind of an approach.
Yeah, it's hard to find stuff. It's not easy.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the things that everybody who's coming into this, looking at that navigation, whatever you call it, is that awareness of just how hard it is for whānau
to navigate. Yeah, it's a minefield. It's a minefield. It's a roller coaster ride.
Yeah. And that's certainly one of the themes that comes up, I think, across everyone is a really whānau or family approach, isn't it? That it's about being alongside both sides.
Yeah.
The person who has the experience of the dementia Māori Wari, but also the supporters. And I think, for a number of you, that's a kind of a balancing act, that you're really keen to be alongside that journey.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the services overlap, and we went to a home the other day where the husband had mate wari and some form of cancer as well, and there was a disabled adult child in the picture as well, and this poor woman had no idea where to get support. It's like, wow.
Yeah,
it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. And Daryl and Lee, that navigation side is something that you have a lot of experience with, but also you're branching out for this project too, and trying new ways, won't you? Oh, I think Daryl's having trouble hearing me. Lee, we might ask you.
Hi, yes, absolutely. The navigation is something that, around dementia mate wari that we're very, it's entrenched in us, it's our bread and butter, but certainly, a lot to learn around helping and supporting Māori with mate wari to get the right supports, to get a timely diagnosis, etc. So, we're steeped in everything dementia, and Te Whatu Ora, not Te Whatu Ora, sorry, Purapura Whetū Trust is, of course, steeped in everything kaupapa Māori. So a lot of learning between the two of us within this partnership, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we've been hearing across this whole session is that making connections with the groups and the organisations, whether it's the marae, the things that are on the ground. Yeah, to make those connections. A lot of relationship building going on.
It's relationship. It's, as we heard earlier, rather. It's around trust. It's around developing that relationship and getting to know each other and learning to work with each other. And that's the developmental early stuff, and that's still happening for us. Certainly, I think that's going to take a little while as we take baby steps towards making this whole project come to life.
Well, I think you have all. I think you're beyond baby steps, all you folks. You are taking giant leaps into the unknown, and there's lots of messages of support coming through on the chat. Just amazing mahi from the group, just really inspiring, and we've loved having the chance to hear what's going to be happening. And as I say, we're really hoping that this is just the first part of the conversation, and that we'll keep hearing and having that chance to hear about the things that you're learning and the way things are going across time. So does anybody have any final comments that they'd like to say before we hand over to Teresa to finish us for the day? That was a very big question, wasn't it? Oh, I shall hand over to Teresa, and just again a huge thank you and congratulations.
Kia ora anō. It's been fascinating listening to you speak about projects, and thank you for taking the time. But also, I think the really important things that have come out of this discussion has been the importance of relationships, the need to be very, very people-focused, person-focused, and also some of the problems that you are encountering. You know, the fact that people are finding it difficult to get into general practice. There's still the stigma of mate wareware. All of those issues that you're bringing up will be of interest for the Mate Wareware Leadership and Advisory Group, and so we will be keen, and I think the whole network, of course, is keen for to keep in touch with you and to hear the progress that you're making, but also to understand what are some of the problems and perhaps some of the solutions that you've found to addressing those problems will be really helpful as we move towards implementing the Dementia Mate Wareware Action Plan. So thank you very much for taking the time to let us know about your projects, and all the very best in the next wee while, and hopefully we'll see you again. And so if I just close our meeting, and again, thank you for the time that you spent with us. Unuhia, unihia, unihia ki te urutapu nui a tāne, kia wātia, kia māma, te ngākau, te hinengaro, te tinana, te wairua e te ara tangata. Koia rā, e rongo kua wātia, ai rā kua wātia, e rongo whakaere hia ake ki runga kia tina, tina. Haumie hui e tai ki e, ka kite.